Thank you to members of the subcommittee, Chairwoman Woolsey. Thank you for the opportunity to come here today to speak on behalf of the people of the state of Iowa and also the more broad workers' compensation community. I'm sorry. My written testimony, I think, does a fair job of describing the way in which we have an interplay between impairment and disability. And that also explains why the 6th edition of the AMA Guides has such an important impact upon the people of the state of Iowa. As we talked about the facts of the 6th edition, we felt it would be good in Iowa to have a task force. The task force report from the state of Iowa has been included within the written record and is available online as well. The link to that is within my materials. I would urge you all to read through that material. It is fact, it is objective-based, and it comes from the testimony of most of the doctors whose names are on the book or have very important roles in creating the book. Now, why is this important to you? I think as the ranking member suggested, how does the decrease in a state workers' compensation program affect the federal government? I would urge you to look at the Medicare system. The interplay between workers' compensation settlements and the resulting impact on Medicare is very well known, and it's a significant controversy. We see that employers' insurance companies will settle a workers' compensation claim for a premium amount, and then liability for future medical care can be passed on to the federal government. That's an important thing for all of you in these times. When we have an impact on the level of disability benefits paid to injured workers through a workers' compensation system, which I will explain here shortly, there's a corresponding risk to the federal government that we will have increased applications and need for Social Security disability benefits. If people are not going to get the benefits they're entitled to and have previously been entitled to under state workers' compensation laws, they will turn to an alternate system. Now, when we went through our task force, we came up with 4 very important ideas that we felt were at issue. First, we felt that there was an encroachment on our legal community in the state of Iowa with our own laws. We're concerned about the consensus of the people that make up this guide. We're also concerned about the numerous errors, the need for an errata, and also a subsequent publication of the guides. And we're also very concerned about cultural biases. Now, first, the encroachment of legal boundaries. Iowa has its own workers' compensation program. It started in 1913, and it's the same type of system throughout the United States where each state has its own system. One issue that I would encourage you to look at is the apportionment. In section 2.5 of the new AMA guide, they deal with apportionment. It allows doctors to apportion out some rating of impairment. That is in direct violation to Iowa Code section 8534 subsection 7. That was an apportionment statute that came about through political compromise. It does not allow the apportionment that's allowed under the AMA guide. So that's a deep concern to us. The consensus. Why won't the AMA tell the state of Iowa who was involved in writing this book and being the editors of this book? Within our written materials, we have posted the questions that we posed to the AMA, and you can see their responses. And I would say that they are not responses. We were passed off to the marketing department and given very brief questions. I would urge this subcommittee to ask the AMA to tell us who was involved in writing each of these chapters and who was the editors of each of those chapters. In all the previous editions of the book, when you open it up, it will tell you who wrote each individual chapter and edited that chapter. That is not within the 6th edition, and our concerns about that are summed up in our task force report. Now, the numerous errors, as I mentioned, there's a reprinting of this book, which I don't have before me, but it's almost the same size. When you have, as a work comp judge, an impairment rating under the 6th edition come before you, how will you know, or how would I know, whether this book was used that contains numerous errors, or the reprinted edition, which does not have those same errors? How would I know where that impairment rating came from? There's no indication on the second printing of the book that that is the corrected version. So we have state workers' compensation bodies paying disability benefits based upon impairment ratings, and we don't know where they came from. That's not the way that these systems should be set up. This is a book for serious business purposes. We feel it fails to live up to that guideline. Lastly, the cultural biases. In Iowa, we have a significant immigrant workforce. We have Bosnians, Hispanics, Asian, Sudanese. Those people react to injuries differently. They react to pain differently. There's levels of trust which are different between people of various cultures. The guides which come out of this book are determined based upon the use of various tests which are included in the book. Those are not tested for cultural sensitivity, and therefore people of different races and different educational backgrounds can have different impairment ratings. I would say that that is a bias which should not be allowed within the legal system. That's part of the reason that we could not endorse this book, and I think it needs further study. When we asked the editors of the book how you would address the fact that there are these cultural differences not cared for, we were told, well, just don't use the tests. Well, if you don't use the test, you don't get your impairment rating either up or down, and that's treating people differently based upon their culture, and that's not allowed. So there's various questions. They're summed up very well, our answers and responses to that within our task force, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you.